In 1655, the screams echoing through the valleys of Piedmont weren't just another chapter in Europe's endless religious wars. They were the death cries of one of Christianity's oldest and most radical underground movements. For over 5 centuries, the Waldensians had survived every attempt by the Catholic Church to erase them from existence. They were burned alive, tortured, hunted like animals, and driven into mountain caves where entire families froze to death rather than renounce their faith. Yet somehow, they endured. Why did the Vatican unleash crusades, inquisitions, and genocidal massacres against these so-called heretics? What made these mountain-dwelling Christians such a threat that popes declared holy war against them again and again? The answer reveals one of the Church's darkest secrets: the desperate lengths it would go to control the story of Christianity. Flash back to 1170 in Lyon, France. A wealthy merchant named Peter Waldo hears a wandering minstrel sing about Saint Alexis, who gave up everything to follow Christ. Waldo is so moved that he sells his fortune, gives the money to the poor, and starts preaching in the streets. But here's where things get dangerous. Waldo begins translating the Bible into the local language, so everyday people can read it themselves. In medieval Europe, this is pure revolution. The Church keeps Scripture locked away in Latin, a language only priests and scholars can understand. Waldo's followers, soon called the Poor of Lyon, memorize entire books of the Bible and spread across Europe, preaching without Rome's permission. Suddenly, ordinary people are discussing Scripture, challenging priests, and questioning papal authority. Rome's monopoly on truth is under threat. The Vatican reacts with brutal speed. In 1184, Pope Lucius III declares the Waldensians heretics. Their crime? Reading the Bible in their own language, preaching without permission, and most shocking of all, allowing women to teach and lead. For the medieval Church, this is unthinkable. The Waldensians are building a parallel Christianity that ignores Rome's authority and empowers the laity. The Church launches a relentless campaign: excommunication, torture, and mass executions. Waldensian villages are burned to the ground. Survivors scatter into the Alps, where they become masters of survival, building secret networks of safe houses and hidden schools. Their preachers, known as Barbies, memorize entire scriptures and travel by night, teaching in code and hiding from inquisitors. The persecution escalates. In 1487, Pope Innocent VIII calls for a full-scale crusade against the Waldensians. Thousands of soldiers march into the Alps, burning, looting, and slaughtering. Children are thrown from cliffs. Women are burned alive in their own churches. Yet, the Waldensians fight back with guerrilla tactics, using their knowledge of the mountain terrain to ambush Catholic forces. They vanish into the wilderness, only to reappear months later in distant valleys. For centuries, they play this deadly game of cat and mouse with the most powerful institution in Europe, and somehow they survive. By the 1500s, the Waldensians are thriving in secret. They've established communities from the Alps to southern Italy and even into Eastern Europe. Their beliefs, salvation by faith, the authority of Scripture, the rejection of purgatory, and saint veneration sound eerily familiar. That's because when Martin Luther launches the Protestant Reformation, the Waldensians have already been practicing Protestant Christianity for over 300 years. They're the original reformers, and the Vatican knows it. When the Counter-Reformation sweeps across Europe, the Waldensians are targeted for total annihilation. Then comes 1655, the Piedmont Easter Massacre. Under pressure from Rome, the Duke of Savoy orders the extermination of the Waldensians. Catholic soldiers sweep through their valleys with orders to kill everyone. Pregnant women are cut open. Children are roasted alive. Elderly people are thrown from cliffs. In the village of Bobbio Pellis, soldiers find Waldensians hiding in a cave and suffocate them with smoke. The brutality shocks even hardened diplomats. Oliver Cromwell in England threatens war, and John Milton writes his famous sonnet on the late massacre in Piedmont. Protestant nations send aid, but the survivors are scattered as refugees across Europe. But the Waldensians refuse to disappear. In 1689, a group of 900 exiles led by Henri Arnaud, a pastor turned guerrilla commander, launch the Glorious Return. They fight their way through enemy lines, cross frozen mountain passes, and reclaim their ancestral valleys. It's one of the greatest comebacks in religious history. When they return, they find hidden caches of Bibles and religious texts, preserved for decades in secret locations. Their faith is literally stronger than death. Even in the 19th century, the Vatican's campaign continues. Waldensian children are kidnapped for re-education, pastors are jailed, schools are shut down, and cemeteries are desecrated. Only with the unification of Italy in 1848 do the Waldensians finally gain legal protection. But the scars remain. Secret Vatican archives reveal the Church was still tracking Waldensian communities as late as the early 20th century, fearing their heretical influence would spread to Catholic populations in the Americas. And yet, the Waldensians' legacy is everywhere. DNA studies show Alpine populations with unique markers tracing back to medieval Waldensian families. Oral traditions in remote villages still preserve their theology, passed down in secret for centuries. And their core beliefs, scripture in the vernacular, faith over works, lay preaching, have become mainstream in Protestant Christianity. The Vatican spent 700 years trying to erase people who were, in many ways, the forerunners of modern Christianity. Today, Waldensian churches still exist, primarily in Italy and South America. They're part of the World Methodist Council and have an unbroken chain of succession going back to Peter Waldo. Against all odds, they survived centuries of persecution, genocide, and exile. Their story is a living testament to the power of forbidden faith and the courage to resist religious authoritarianism. So, what do you think? Were the Waldensians the true inheritors of original Christianity, or dangerous heretics who threatened the social order? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And I want to know what you think about religious authority versus individual faith. If this story opened your eyes to the hidden side of Christian history, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Because next week, we're uncovering the Bogomils, a mysterious sect whose secret teachings may have shaped Christianity more than anyone realizes. The rabbit hole of forbidden history goes deeper than you think, and we're just getting started. Keep questioning everything they don't want you to know.